So, you've decided to make an original character with a military background. Alright, I can play to my strengths. I can help you with that. Ignore the drawing because that is not my strengths. It doesn't bother me to admit that my art isn't as bang-on cool as some of the other YouTube artists you see out there. I do think I have a really good handle on storytelling, characterizations, dialogue, building plots and story arcs, especially when it comes to a military setting. Let me elaborate, introduce myself, and tell you what I hope to offer to you. I'm Staff Sergeant Art Grant, and I'm a guy who has been in the United States Army for over 25 years. In the Army, I have served as an infantry combat rifleman, a tank driver, a combat engineer, and now as an intelligence sergeant. I was deployed to Iraq, which forms the basis for my Bohica Blues webcomic. So while I am maybe so-so as an artist or illustrator, I do know my way around being in the military, especially in the field known as combat arms, and communicating that experience in a way that can be realistic but also approachable. Combat arms is important because most military stories will take place in the combat arms realm. If the story isn't about combat arms, it is probably about intelligence. So sorry, finance and accounting, no one makes movies about you guys. But don't worry, you are loved, you are important, you keep us paid, and by keeping us paid, you keep the Burger King and stripper economies afloat. So, back on topic. Combat arms. What exactly is combat arms? So in the Army, combat arms involves the infantry, the armor, the artillery, including anti-aircraft artillery, engineers, most aviation, and of course, everyone's favorite, special forces. Some armies, some countries consider military police to also be combat arms. Some consider them to be combat service support. We'll get into that. So, support branches. Other branches are considered support branches, and they're not as sexy. Cooks, finance, legal, mechanics, and so on. Now, these jobs are important. They are very important. In fact, the combat guys can't do their jobs without these guys. But they're not usually the kinds of folks that stories end up getting told about. Maybe that's unfair, but it's the reality of things. Because really, if you want to tell a story about a mechanic or a lawyer, you can do it outside of a military setting. So, alright. So you want to make a character and put this character in the military, or give them a military background. Why would you want to do that? Don't you love your characters like your own children? But maybe you haven't served in the military, or maybe you only did brief service in a non-combat branch. Maybe you want some help creating a believable military character and place him or her in a military setting that is also believable. Movies and TV shows hire military advisors to help them out with this kind of stuff all the time. But who can afford that? As a combat veteran, writer, and passable illustrator, I understand the difficulties, and I am here to serve as your military advisor. So I'm going to start a regular series about making good, believable military characters for fiction. Obviously, my primary focus will be for things like comics, either web or traditional, but the things I'm going to touch on will be applicable to novels, screenplays, role-playing games even. I hope to help bridge the gap of comprehension between experiencing military service and expressing it with believable characters. I hope you're looking forward to this help at building a military character. So this has been the introductory episode. In the first real episode, the next episode, I hope to address the motivations for getting a character into the military in the first place, and explain logically why they would be there. If I can help, then please consider me your military advisor for your writing project. If you find this series useful, please consider helping me out with a like and subscribe, and tell your other creative colleagues about this channel. If you can, consider supporting me on Patreon as well. That helps out a lot, as all funds raised are used solely for creating comics and comic supporting projects like this one. So until next time, dismissed.
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. A kind on the run, on the run, on the run. Yeah, I'm calling you and me every time.